Welcome to the Path to Purpose interview show, where we share our unique and universal stories about finding and fulfilling our purpose. My name is Katja, and I'm your host and mentor for purpose-driven entrepreneurs. My intention for this show is to inspire you on your path to purpose. Today, I have a pleasure to interview Dr. Sheri Elle Brown, who is a spiritual psychologist, de-stress doctor, integrative wellness coach, and energy healer. She helps women over 40 who are overstressed, overwhelmed, and feeling off, and feeling the physical effects of disease to reconnect with themselves and their feminine aspect to restore, rebalance, and feel healthy, vibrant, and amazing in mind, soul, and body. So let's find out more about her path, and I will also ask her best tips how we can reconnect with ourselves. So let's get started here. So welcome, Sheri Elle. I'm
Thank you. Thank
excited to
you.
have you here.
I'm so excited to be here.
And could you please tell us a little bit more about you, and please also share where you are located so we can put you on the map?
Wonderful. So I am in Greenville, South Carolina in the USA. And I know that you lead a very powerful spiritual group of people. So I'd love to start off the interview just by saying that I'm a Gemini. And so I have spent my life collecting a lot of different information and sort of taking the pieces of my life and putting them together to create my own story and my own purpose, and how I really deeply feel passionate about helping people, particularly women over 40 that really need to deeply reconnect with themselves to prevent and actually heal disease as well.
Mm-hmm. And just want to mention, so if you happen to be male and watching this, she will share tips for you too. So
Absolutely.
stay,
Absolutely.
stay tuned, because we had this conversation
Yeah.
before, and I was just like, yes, like, does this work for guys as well? And she said yes. So
It
stay
does,
tuned.
right? And we know, we know that the balance of the universe really falls back on the yin yang principle. And so, really, it critically is about balance for both men and women. We need to nurture both the masculine and the feminine energies that we have within. So,
Mm,
yeah, it will work for men as well.
perfect. So was there a special event that led you to this path?
I, because of my background as an integrative wellness practitioner, um, right, it's a body, mind, soul experience. And so typically, and for me, what happened, but I think this is probably true for many of us, is that we experience stress in the body most likely before it impacts us on a spiritual, on a deeper level, and on a mindful level. And so for me, early on in my life, I had a couple of experiences that definitely the adults in my life didn't teach me about appropriate boundaries. And
Mm.
so at an early age during my adolescence, I didn't really learn how to value and love myself the way that in an ideal world, right, we would really like to all come to the planet and have the most beautiful, wonderful, nurturing experience, and everything should be just right. And we all know that typically that does not happen. And usually the first symptoms that show up is a disconnect with the physical body. And so, probably in my late teens, early 20s, I fell back on trying to figure out and put the pieces together of how I could get back within myself and really learn to trust at a deeper level, right? So, the boundary issue comes from whatever adults are in our lives, whether they're our parents, relatives, neighbors, whatever the case may be, just really kind of establishing a footing on the ground in a spiritual aspect.
Mm. Yeah,
So
that's
I definitely think that this is analogous to, in psychological terms, Maslow's pyramid, the hierarchy of our basic needs. And so for me, I look at it in an energetic way, in a spiritual way, aligned with chakras, along with the Maslow hierarchy of needs. And so fundamentally, when our boundaries are crossed and when we don't establish healthy boundaries when we're younger, we tend to not value and take care of ourselves. And it usually shows up in our body first. And so I had health issues growing up. And at some point, I think in my late 20s, I had a really serious health issue, where I really felt like I was beginning to separate from my body. And I actually was. I definitely had a near-death experience. And so, of course, I lived, and here I am. And, that was 20 something years ago. And, but at the time, I made a conscious decision to kind of put my body by the wayside, because it was really the first time that I felt deeply connected to spirit. And I meditated all the time. So I just, as a Gemini, being airy to begin with, I just sort of floated around in the ethers for quite a while. And I thought, okay, I'll try to eat right and be in my body, but I think I'm going to focus on my intellect and my spirit. And the profound, big, huge lesson for me that drives me to my purpose is that we need to have balance, right? We need to create the balance in the body, the balance in the mind, the balance of the soul. So coupled with that, I ended up going to school and earning a degree in cell biology and genetics. And so for me, science and spirituality are deeply connected, and they're connected on an energetic level. And so as time went on, and I began to put the pieces together of this integrated way of being that we are, it all comes down to energy and balance, and not to leave one aspect, one part of ourselves behind. So every day, that conscious awareness, that conscious intention should be focus on aspects of your physical health, of your emotional, your mental health, and of course, your spiritual health. Sorry for the long-winded answer, but I mean, it's just a huge,
yeah, because I can feel the passion that you have for this, and it makes so much sense. Like you learn that you need to have the balance in your own life, and then now you are sharing the wisdom with others, as you discovered that truth that was true for you.
Right.
So now when there are, because a lot of people like are so stressed nowadays, like there is stress in many levels. And I think the past couple of years now has been even higher levels of stress during this situation, what was happening in the world. And you are helping with the people with overcoming stress, people who are overstressed. So what do you think is causing mainly that high level of stress?
What a great giant question.
I know, but can you just say it like
so, this is the biologist in me, and I'll take everyone back to a journey of 10,000 years ago, but I won't stay there very long. We human beings evolved our stress management mechanism through our flight or fright mechanism in our bodies, right? So there's a huge hormonal response. And 10,000 years ago, we were running away from giant critters with big teeth. And so we made a decision, maybe not so much cognitively, but physiologically, are we going to fight, or are we going to run away? right? But now we fast forward 10,000 years and we're not running away from giant things that will eat us. So we never really developed a true mechanism for managing stress in the modern world. So we're not running away from giant creatures, but we're definitely inundated in a very different way with the busyness of life. And this is true for men and this is true for women. And what we know to be true scientifically and what the research is showing us is that women are particularly, what's the word for that? Susceptible to stress-related illnesses. And I want to be careful about saying that because I very purposefully, when we were talking earlier, I mentioned that I talk about the prevention of dis-ease or the healing from dis-ease, right? The root of the word is whether we are at ease or not. So women have a different response to how we process stress hormones in the body. And at the end of the day, in a biologic sense, when we are in a chronic stressed out mode, our gut health is compromised. And we are very much, when we're in that state, when you think about our gut health as being a significant part of our immune response, in women, that stress response, gut health, and the integrity of the gut are compromised, and we invite in many different stress-related illnesses, chronic illness, and definitely autoimmune deficiencies. And so women in general are diagnosed with autoimmune deficiencies and dementia, for example, at 2 to 10 times the rate as men.
Wow.
And going back to this idea of this energetic space to be in, to create balance, to value the boundaries that we should have in our lives, it really becomes essential as women to kind of just take it down a notch and begin to prioritize and really, really deeply begin to appreciate and manage the stressors that we have in our lives and how it affects us.
Wow. Thank you for that. Like, I think
Sorry.
really like, good golden nuggets there, like getting
Big
the
biology
deeper
lesson. Yeah.
level. No, but the deeper level of understanding. And now if there are people like, yeah, maybe my stress level is a little bit high. Maybe I'm not that balanced that I would like to be. So what could you mentioned the boundaries, but how do you start this work? Of course, my recommendation, just connect with Sheri Elle so she can support you. But if somebody is like, okay, well, how do I even get started? I'm already distressed. I can't do another thing. So where do they start? What can they do to support themselves?
I think that this is an answer that I could talk about on many different levels. So there are distinct strategies and actions that anyone can take, but the bigger picture is definitely the mindset. Every woman, sorry guys, I know you're out there too, and this is probably true for men as well, but I have not yet run into a woman in my practice and in my life that doesn't say, I'm always putting someone else first. And so how do we get out of the mindset of valuing ourselves enough, of being so madly in love with who we are, that we can take a pause, that we can take a breath and say, wait a minute, what I'm doing in all of this, in this big picture of life, what am I doing to make sure, in a very non-egotistical way, that I'm the star of my own show? Because when we shine and when we're brilliant for ourselves, then we're brilliant for everyone else. But we tend to not get in a preventative space and acknowledging that high level of stress until we feel the physical effects of it.
Mm.
So from a preventative aspect, from a preventative standpoint, I would say for anyone listening that is feeling not only the effects of stress, or they may have physical symptoms, or they're very well aware that they are not in a space of creating balance within, I would say to them, don't forget that it's all about energy. And don't forget that this is a journey that lasts a lifetime. It is not about necessarily dropping a quick 20 pounds or having a self-care day once a month at the salon, right? That's not really what's going on. It's baby steps, little changes that transform who you are from the inside out. Value who you are. Every day should be a mindful day to breathe. If meditation is too much, takes too much time out of your schedule, practice mindful breathing for 10 minutes every morning. Do one little simple ease into a little bit of breath work, because the beautiful part about that is a mindfulness practice every day fortifies this cranial nerve in the brain called the vagus nerve. And when we are mindful, not even if we're in a deep meditation, if we're mindful, we're strengthening the vagus nerve, and it in turn strengthens our parasympathetic nervous system, and it brings us back down.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So very practically, action steps, energetically, think about the foods that you eat. It should all be fresh. It should all be whole. Put really good things in your body. Put really good thoughts in your head. Understand that the beliefs that you hold within determine over time if they're serving you on a spiritual level, your higher purpose, or if they're not. And so I'm saying all of these little tiny baby action steps, but it really happens over a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
But mindful breathing is an amazing place to start.
Yeah, I have noticed like even couple of deep breaths, it just calms your body.
It's
Like
amazing.
test it out right now. Just
Right.
take a couple of deep breaths. Like it helps. And whatever you can, just doing those like little tiny steps as you shared. And one of the things, like when you shared about the priority list, like I'm just thinking like even writing that list down, because sometimes it's just putting it down on a paper. It's a reality check. Like, okay,
Right.
where am I on my list? And
Right.
it's just being aware what's there right now, because that's the starting point.
Right.
Then you can start making different choices. But it's just, it is what it is right now, but you
Right.
can be the star of your life. That's what I say. And when you said that, I was like, oh, that's so cool. You have to say that
I know.
thing. Like that's been my quote since I started to work, like be the star of your life, because that's really, you are the star
Right.
of your life. So
And I think too, we spiritual people, when we're coming from that space, we have a tendency to be very humble. And when we're humble and we're not operating from a big place of ego, we forget that we still, from the gift of the universe, still are the star of our own show.
yeah.
It's not an egotistical process, it's a spiritual process. We matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And now, if somebody's there and like, okay, I might need little help with this. So, how can people find out more about you and your work?
So right now, I have a website. It's called womenswellness.guru. You can find me there. I'm not sure if you're going to add any links to the bottom of this. I'm on
I will.
Facebook.
It'll be all on the show notes.
And I do have a Facebook group for women only. Sorry, guys, but you can reach out to me too. I work with men because men also need to feel that they need support with, managing the stress in their lives and any kind of dis-ease that can come along with that. So I'm very open and willing to work with men, and I have, in the past. Email. I don't know if you want me to tell everybody that information. Dr. Sheri PhD at Gmail. You can find me there too. Yeah.
Perfect. And you kindly promised to offer a gift
I
for
did.
people. So can you share a little bit more
I sure
about that?
can. So I wrote a meditation and recorded it. It's a chakra balancing meditation, but I ask if it's at all possible, and no one is obligated to do this. It's a free gift either way. But I suggest that you do this in a saltwater bath, because if you take the time to nurture yourself in that way, draw a nice warm bath, add bubbles if you'd like, add Epsom salt. You can even get Epsom salt with clay or ginger or peppermint or lavender, right? Or eucalyptus. And put, Epsom salt in the bath. This serves a lot of different purposes. Salt, the Epsom salt, the magnesium is great for the body. So if you have aches and pains, we all need magnesium anyhow. It's great for the body. The water, for those of you that have a hard time meditating, the water is a really great medium for meditating. So that feminine aspect, the yin within all of us, male and female, the yin aspect, the feminine aspect, really comes down and draws into the water in a very beautiful meditative way. So you can find yourself not only more relaxed, but more intuitive and definitely more connected. And so in this meditation, I take you through from your root chakra all the way up to your crown, just a great healing meditation for rebalancing those chakras. And they're all connected to different aspects of who we are on a physical, emotional, mental, spiritual level.
Wow, that sounds wonderful. I could just, when you were describing, I could see the bubble bath. Like, I was like, oh, that will
With a
be
candle.
lovely.
Yeah. Some music, beautiful music behind. Well, the meditation, I did put a little track of music behind, so you're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for offering that gift.
You're so
And
welcome.
now we are wrapping up this interview because I feel I could talk to you for a longer time, but we wanted to keep this short. And thank you so much for sharing all the wisdom, because it just shows like the wisdom was just pouring through. So I know you have so much more to share than you were able to do here. But do you have a special message that you would like to share to end this time together?
My special message is that it's completely okay and very natural and very spiritual to honor yourself first. Because when you show up for yourself and you walk into and step into your own brilliance, then you can be that for everyone else. And part of that definitely is managing your response in the modern world and making sure that you create balance within body, mind, and soul.
Wow, thank you so much, Sheri Elle, for your time today and all your work.
You're so welcome, and thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you for watching the Path to Purpose interview show. And if you want support for your path, join Lightworkers Who Succeed on Purpose Facebook community. I'm sending you loads of light and love. Stay well and stay tuned for the next episode by subscribing to this channel. And bye for now.
Bye.